What's up, y'all? I hope you're doing well. We are here for our weekly energy oracle forecast. I'm a little distracted. I had to start the video over. I'm just like, I have so much weighing on my heart about like the news stories that I saw when I came in about the Swedish or Swiss activist Greta something. Her vessel, her sailboat that she was taking with some other environmental activists, they were taking aid into Gaza. They were intercepted by the Israeli Navy and have been captured and, in their words, kidnapped. And so I worried for them myself. I didn't expect much different when they were making their announcement that they were going to try to sail in with the supplies. I was afraid they would be intercepted, and so that's the current situation with them. The protests in LA today were peaceful, and yet the National Guard was activated just in spite. And then a woman and her children, ICE raided on them in the middle of the night in their house, had them at gunpoint in the front yard, out there half-dressed in their underwear in the middle of the rain. They stole all their belongings, their savings in cash, their identification, their papers, laptops, cell phones, everything. And as it turns out, they were there looking for someone who used to live in that house. It was a rental. They had just moved there from another state. So just trying to process all of this. And it feels insensitive to not just mention all of this, even if that's not the point of focus that we're talking about. But my prayers are just going out to the world. We need them. We need a miracle so badly right now, because when you think about, who's left to intervene, Our first card out, so this is our weekly energy oracle forecast. Sorry to start the video this way, but we're going to get into the reading. So our weekly energy oracle forecast lets us know what kind of energy we will be living in through the week, what themes might be coming up, generally speaking. And the first two cards that came up when I was shuffling, I started the video before, I had to restart it, were vision and self, the self. Now, I think that on the heels of the last few weeks, I think that this is a vision of our true self. We have finally been able to see ourselves to some level of clarity and clearly, and see what about ourselves has been holding us back and blocking us from expanding, from growing, from moving forward. And now we're ready to be unencumbered by those things so that we can rise into that greater self, that higher self, which that higher self is a version of the self that has fully blossomed. Right? All of us have an easy nature that we're born with, and our assignment is to overcome what comes easily, right? And so there are things that everyone has that give them hang-ups and send them into patterns and cause us to self-sabotage and all of these things. And so we are seeing more clearly what has been holding us back. And this is not always just in terms of holding us back in our goals and things we want to achieve, but this is like what has held you back emotionally, right? Have you, avoided opening up to others and being fully vulnerable? Are you shut down in some way? Are you closed off? Are you chained by anger, resentment, prejudice, anything like that? There's all kinds of ways that we can hold ourselves back. But this week, generally speaking, and in terms of the Torah portions and the energy of the week as it relates to that way is about seeing the things that are stumbling blocks for us, things that are thwarting our growth, thwarting our becoming, things that are sabotaging us. We're cutting those things out so that we can be freed, unencumbered, to really fully bloom, fully blossom, fully become who we can be, right? A person with deeper relationships, a deeper appreciation for the small things, a deeper sense of humility and gratitude and social responsibility. There's all kinds of things that we are thinking about in terms of our higher self, that self that is fully able to channel the light of God and the light of goodness into the world through our own unique expression, right? Because each of us is a unique person with unique experiences and a unique perspective, and we're here for a purpose. Each of us has our specific purpose for being alive, or else we wouldn't be alive. If we're alive, there's a use and a purpose for us. And so the higher self is the self that is able to perceive that purpose and align with it and act on it. I've been reading the Pistis Sophia, and this gospel, it talks a lot. It's set during the 11 years that Christ was appearing to the disciples after the resurrection. And during the time of like the ascension, when he before he ascended into the upper realms. So Christ resurrected, he ascended, but then he was like, it was like back and forth because he had things to finish out with his disciples. He had to help them in revealing these next levels of wisdom to them. And as he's talking to them, he makes mention of the orders that he had from the first mystery to come here and do certain things, and he had certain tasks. And so it's interesting to think about Jesus, the King of the universe, had assignments, right? He had things that he had to do. He had orders to carry out here on earth. And he was the most perfected expression of a human being, right? And, it's interesting in The Chosen, I love how it humanizes Jesus and the disciples when they're talking and they're asking him about things. And one of the scenes has John the Baptist asking Jesus about some heavy stuff that's coming up, John the Baptist understands that Jesus's ministry is going to cause a lot of political unrest, and it's going to put Jesus in a lot of trouble and pressure, and ultimately lead to his execution. And so John the Baptist is asking him, how he feels about like having that, hanging over him. And he says something to the effect of, I may not be excited about what I have to do, but I'm always ready and willing to do my Father's work and to do what my Father asks of me. So yes, he dreaded what lied before him. He was not excited about going forth and living this out, the crucifixion, but he knew that that's what he was supposed to do, and he was willing to do it. And it wasn't easy. Now you take one of us, we're not perfected like the Christ. We're not completely detached from our ego and 100% in a state of sharing and not receiving for the self alone, right? That's why when Jesus said, I gave my life willingly and so that I might pick it up willingly, Jesus was 100% a vessel of sharing and not a vessel for taking to receive for the self alone. His whole life, his whole being was devoted to serving the Father and serving humanity, redeeming humanity. And so had he been just a normal everyday human like us, our stuff comes up, right? And we each have our own assignment and purpose in this world, just like Jesus did. Orders that our soul was given to come here and perform while we were in this incarnation. But our baggage gets in the way. Our fears, our limiting beliefs, our assumptions, our inability to just make ourselves do the thing that we're avoiding. You know, all of these hang-ups and habits and avoidance, they all keep us from fully blossoming into who we are really and who we are here to become and how we are here to serve, right? And so I think we're getting more clarity about that the last couple of weeks. We may not be fully clear on our purpose and our future and the timeline that we're destined to align with. But I think we're getting more clear about what and what has been holding us back and keeping us from really stepping fully into that higher destiny, that higher self. And this destiny, it gives us deeper fulfillment and a sense of God's rest, because it's the thing that our soul is trying to get us to do, to move toward. And so we, in our personality, we've got all these other agendas, all these other things that we want to do, but we're never at rest inside. We always feel like something's missing. I need to be somewhere. I need to be doing something. This disembodied anxiety, right? It's because we're not fully giving. We're not fully aware of how we should be giving or what we should be doing or what we should be pursuing. But we know that something's not quite in full alignment. And so now it's more clear, okay, I can at least begin by restricting these behaviors, restricting this consciousness, restricting this reactivity that keeps me in these loops of self-sabotage, that keeps me in these loops of negative patterns, and break that cycle and move into a new cycle. So the vision is here, the self is here. And so we're seeing ourselves clearly in this current moment, but then we're also having a clearer vision of who it is that we are becoming and who it is that we have potential to become. Memento mori. We do incarnate more than once, but we only get to be in this life one time. This identity, this self, this is just a one-time chance. And so we don't have forever. Things are fleeting. When you look at the pressure that we are all under, it's like, what is the legacy we're leaving behind in this moment of history? Who were we going to be in the context of all of this? What is worth a life? What is worth our life? What is worth our integrity? What is worth our effort to give to it? Right? To give our heart and soul, to give this limited time. When we think about how fast even this year went by, we're already in June, we're halfway through the year, and it has been mostly just misery and fear and waiting for the next shoe to drop. And it all goes by so fast before we know it. So it's so important that we're aware and that we're conscious and we're living with intention and giving ourselves to things that matter, that we'll be proud of, that we will be that we can stand before the heavenly hosts and judges and stand before God with a clear heart and say, I did my best, or I did what I thought was right. I did not contribute to hatred and violence and destruction and evil. There's also a sense of looking back on our past and letting that be the past and drawing a line and saying, okay, from here forward, that part of me is no longer. Every day, the who we were yesterday is gone. And every day we have another chance to be a different version of ourselves. But the old version from the old timeline, like that world, that timeline is gone. Things are drastically different. They took a very, very sharp turn at the turn of the year. It's funny too, because I remember in the fall, all of our messages were just enjoy the holidays, have a good time, enjoy the time of sweetness and celebration and being with everybody. Have a good time, because things are about to get really dark. And I had a feeling, I was like, why is the universe telling us to just like chill, have a good time, enjoy ourselves? Like, this is weird. We're usually like supposed to be doing some work. But I think that we were being told to have a good time because things were going to get so dark for the unforeseeable future. So we have to be the light bringers and the light bearers, and we have to keep cultivating it every day, no matter what, for each other, for ourselves, even in ways that seem insignificant. They add to the collective reason to keep going, to keep fighting, right? Even something as insignificant seeming as somebody brought up, like, all of the bland homes that are being designed now. Everything's just this gray wood, fake wood floors. The kitchens are just stark, sterile, white, gray. Everything's white, gray, plain. And they were talking about how, like, in the past, things were designed to have beauty and richness, and you could tell what we valued by the care that we put in designs. And they were just showing like old craft homes, all the details and the care and the beauty of those homes. It's like now we have these like just cheap, ugly boxes of prefabricated materials. And this person commenting on this was making a point that beauty is not frivolous, but gives us a reason for living. And psychologically, in places where the powers that be have systematically tried to crush the spirit of individuals, it's always these ugly places. They take the beauty away, and that ugliness, the surroundings, the sterile, the coldness, the dirtiness, it breaks the spirit. So value and protect what is sacred and precious around you. Take the moments that you can to have warmth and joy and show kindness to the people around you. Show kindness to the people who are struggling. Show absolute kindness and respect to any person that doesn't look or seem or sound like they're from this country, because they are shitting bricks right now. Also, I think it's important to not let history be buried, to remember very clearly what it was like before they tried to desensitize us to everything that's going on, to get us to be complacent, to get us to be used to it, to get us to think, oh, this is the norm, this is acceptable. No, it isn't. It is not the norm. It is not acceptable. So the people who have lived, like the millennials, we are the last people that remember what it was like before absolute evil started taking over. This evil has been a slow build for so long, but something happened in the 90s. Desert Storm was the beginnings, the early beginnings. Then, of course, 9/11. But it was building underneath the surface all that time. But those of us who can remember a time where there was still goodness in people and almost an innocence to people, when the government still worked to help us, that it wasn't completely owned by billionaires and corporations. Like, we remember that. The people who are being born now, the people who have grown up in recent years, they need to know that the things that we are seeing are not okay. They're being conditioned to just accept this as normal. So we need to do everything that we can to remember a time. Obviously, the good old days never existed. There's always been corruption. There's always been, greed and dishonesty in politics. But we're in a time of outrageous corruption. Outrageous corruption. And love will be the answer. Fighting for love. Saving love. All the people who are putting their neck on the line. Like, I marvel at this young woman, Greta. I need to know her last name. I've tried to commit it to memory and it still slipped from my mind. But the courage that it would take someone to get on a sailboat and go up against an army to try to take supplies in to the people of Gaza. Like, the courage and a heavy dose, a healthy dose of foolhardiness, right? Because you have to be able to believe that there's a chance that you're not going to be intercepted to do something like that. So I pray that they release her and that she is sent help and that she is safe and that all the activists that are with her are safe and are treated well and are treated with dignity and that she gets back home to safety soon. But that is an act of love. That is a pure act of love and giving. Knowing that you're probably going to be totally fucked, but doing it anyway. We are to love our neighbors. And the agenda happening, that this rise of these evil overlords, it's an absolute attack on love in every way. And this is a test of humanity to gauge whether or not we can distinguish right from wrong and good from evil. But when our hearts go on that scale, when we die, love is the thing that is going to let us pass. It is how much love is in your heart and how much wickedness is in your heart. That is what the scale is going to be weighing. That is what the judges are going to be looking at when we stand before the judges on our final day. Did you have love in your heart? Or did you have wickedness and hate and violence and destruction in your heart? So I pray that love will come over the world. I pray that we can repair with the people around us. I know that I have a very hard time even considering talking to my MAGA family members right now. And it's the challenge of continuing to love one another through this. And in spite of this, love is the only thing that can save us at this point. I just don't know how to get through to all of these people who have been so brainwashed into hate. So in the meantime, where we need to start is loving ourselves, loving our neighbors who are being put upon, loving those who are being put under enormous amounts of terror and harassment and injustice. Give love so freely to those people. We have to give love to the people who are hardest to love, but we definitely need to start with the people who are being terrorized right now. Do your best to keep your consciousness rooted in love, because it's our consciousness that flavors every action that we take. And if we take actions that are rooted in love, then that provides us blessing and mercy, and it blesses our actions. We see Greta as an example of someone who took an act of love, and look, she got intercepted and this thing happened. And so we wonder, well, what happened? Well, there's so much mystery to life that we don't know if it could have been worse, right? Maybe things are better than they could have been. If we take actions when we are angry and we are fearful and we are bitter, then those actions will be weakened and they will cause chaos and they will weave more damage. So be mindful. Be self-aware. Observe your thoughts, question your thoughts, ask why, like catch yourself if you're having an attitude towards something that needs to be looked at. But I think this week there's so much happening on a collective level in the human experience right now on the world stage, but there's also something happening on an individual level as well. And I think on the individual level, we're seeing how we have sold ourselves short, or how we've sabotaged ourselves, or how we've hurt our own selves in our life, and how we've held ourselves back, and what we can cut away to release us from being held back so that we can move forward and we can grow. But on a human collective level, the corruption and the evil is being shown so poignantly that we'll never be able to unsee it again. I just don't understand the people who can look on at this point and still be in support of it. I understand that there are extreme religious groups in this country that have convinced themselves that this is like upholding some prophecy. But for the people who aren't in that brainwashed society and they're just in the middle and they just got caught up in this movement and they're still confused about who the good guys are at this point. This is the great test of humanity right now. And if your conscience can't look at everything that's going on, everything playing out in your face in the news, you can see it on video, and you're okay with it, you need to do some serious reflection and think twice and get back in your Bible and study a little bit harder and come at it from a different angle. Because I think that the thing that's bewildered me the most and has left me so disillusioned are the patriarchs that raised my generation to serve God and be so righteous and be so vigilant to watch for this Antichrist coming, and they're the very ones that have been sucked in. Confused because of the prophecies that said that this Antichrist would trick people and would make them think that they were good when they weren't. And so they've been almost expecting someone who's not polished and good and pretending to be good, because they're looking for someone thinking, oh, this is going to seem like a good guy, but he's really a bad guy. But what's happened is that we've got this maniac who's just telling people, who's gaslighting them, going, I'm the good guy. I'm the good guy. And they're like, oh, this must be it. He's kind of a heel. He's kind of bad, but it did say we were going to be confused, or he was going to try to confuse us, convince us he was good. So the bad guy must be good and the good guy must be bad. Like, some people are literally genuinely that confused. They need to be woken up. They need love in their heart. Everything that is happening right now in the world is because of a lack of love. The hearts that have no love, they're the ones responsible for trying to play out every evil on the planet right now. Oh, we want to protect the environment. Oh, we have one planet that is precious and finite. Let's completely destroy it. Yes. Let's do as much waste as we can. Let's get as much pollution in the air. Let's make sure to sabotage the end of the AIDS pandemic, I think. But yeah, they've almost put an end to AIDS, and now this administration is purposefully trying to sabotage the medication that is helping people prevent them from getting AIDS and healing them from AIDS. It's like everything that they can think of that is the most evil, horrible thing to do for humanity. It's like they're doing that. It's like that. That's like they've got a checklist on the agenda. It's almost like they were from the pits of hell and were purposefully sowing every category of evil, and everything that's good in the world, we're gonna ruin it and destroy it. everything. That's our list. We're just gonna, one thing at a time, make it miserable, make it horrible. We're gonna ruin it because of lack of love. The Hispanic people are being systematically enslaved for-profit torture centers, where they are being crammed into detention centers that are private, for-profit places that are basically set up like a DMV waiting room that are intentionally built for 400 people, and they have 4,000 people in the Miami location who don't have enough bathrooms. They don't have anywhere to lay down or sit down. They're crammed into these spaces with not a cup of water. I remember when I was arrested in Wilson County, how scary it was, how helpless I felt, how claustrophobic it was. There wasn't enough room. I had to sit on a dirty floor with stuff all over the floor. And I was strip searched in a disgusting shower stall with like a ripped shower curtain. And I was freezing and they wouldn't give me a blanket. And I had one little styrofoam cup that they gave me for water. And I remember sitting there for hours thinking, I have to sit here and protect this cup so it doesn't break, because this is all I have. And that was terrifying enough, just waiting to be bailed out. But I can't imagine having no idea when it's going to be over, if it is going to be over. Wondering what is going to happen to them next. Wondering where the rest of their family is. What happened to their kids. Dear God, help the people of the world right now who are suffering. Send us relief. Send us answers, direction on what we can do to change our trajectory. That's all for tonight.